Hey everyone, welcome to the video. My name's Steve, and if you're new to this channel, these videos are all about digging deeper on the cost of ownership. In today's video, I'm going to recap my trip to the Porsche Experience Centre and tell you whether it was worth going or not. Now, the first new Porsche that I have owned where I've actually spec'd it myself was the Porsche 992 Carrera 2, which I've been covering on this channel, giving feedback and detailing the experience that I had over the 18 months of ownership. When I ordered that car, anytime you order a new car, and as long as there's a centre in your region, you will get an invitation to go down to the Experience Centre and have a test drive in the car, preferably before you actually build it and send the order into the factory. But if not, a chance to go down and experience the car on their tracks without using your own vehicle and using one of the test cars. The idea behind these experiences is to give you a half day, either morning or afternoon, with a one-to-one tuition with a Porsche instructor that will take you around their test tracks and some of the other features there in the car that you're going to buy, so that you get a taste and a feel for it and maybe think about how you want to spec the car before you finalize your order. What actually happened with me was I took delivery of my car just before a lockdown here in the UK, and my experience that I had booked in got cancelled. When I went to rearrange it, they were working on a basis where the instructor would be in one car, you would be in the other, and they would follow you around the track, and I just didn't quite fancy that, so we put it off because I was going to take a friend, and we booked it and did it just a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just going to cover exactly what happened, what to expect when you get there, and the cars we actually drove, which wasn't the car that I previously owned. So just to start with, before I actually talk about my experience, I just thought I would give you a quick idea about how to find out what the experiences are on the Porsche website and where you can locate your local track depending on where you are in which region. So if you head over to the Porsche website and you find the region, when you get there you want to look for the very bottom of the page. Under behind the scenes, you've got the Porsche Experience. When you click on the Porsche Experience, it'll open the window and it'll take you on to looking at different types of experiences they run. Now, I've had a quick look through some of these. Some of these events are things you can go on international, you can book trips, they all look quite interesting. But if you go back up to the very first one, you read more on the track experiences. So what you find, it'll take you through to the track experience part of their experience website. You'll head down, and if you click on international, you will find that they list every experience centre around the world, and you'll be able to find your nearest one in your country. For me, it's the one in Great Britain, and there we go, we get all the information about experiences at the Silverstone Experience Centre. So to give you an idea of what's down there, they have two tracks down at the Porsche Experience Centre in Silverstone, and they also have some other features around there so you can take advantage of learning about your car. If we go on and have a look there, you can go to explore the tracks and it'll give you the layout of both tracks around the circuit. Now, on the right hand side, on the first bit of that page, is the bigger handling track, and on the left hand side is a different handling track with a two straight oval on it. And if we go further down, it tells you exactly what they are under all the green sections. So you've got two handling circuits, you've got the straights on that oval, and then you've also got an ice hill and a kick plate. The kick plate was a fun one. You travel towards a kick plate, and when you get onto it, it will go left or right quite violently and take you onto a very wet skid plate that is designed to simulate a bad slide on ice. There's also a low friction area in off-road. I didn't go on the off-road because I was in the two-seater sports cars rather than the off-roaders, and I just didn't get a chance to go in the low friction area because I swapped cars with my friend halfway through and wanted to cover the same things in both cars to see what the differences were like. So what were the two cars? Well, I've talked about wanting to buy a 718 GTS 4 litre as a replacement for the 992 that I just sold. And because they don't have any manual demonstrators, or in fact any demonstrators at my local dealer at all for me to borrow, I decided to use the experience that I had outstanding to go down there and experience a manual version of that car and decide whether I wanted manual or a PDK. My friend wanted to do something different, and if you pay a little bit extra more than what the experience is, if somebody comes along with you, they can do one of the turbo models. Now, we did the 992 Turbo S Cabriolet. So once you turn up at the Experience Centre, it is on the edge of the Silverstone racetrack, and you have to enter the exterior of the track onto one of the internal roads, and then it takes you all the way around to the Experience Centre. And the building is very much a design of the dealerships these days, and You come into the front lobby, and the first thing they do at the moment is they take your temperature, as you can imagine, and if you pass all that, they take your driving license for insurance purposes, and then you go into the main area. So when you first come in, you have the shop, and then you come around and they have some demonstration vehicles and some bits and pieces on the walls, as well as some videos. Now, the most interesting car that I found in there when I went straight in is something I have never seen in the flesh before, but I've always wanted to see one, and that was a 550, and this particular one was an RS model. Now, I was told that this has never actually raced at anything. It does run, but it's there as a demonstration. You can't sit in it, but that is probably one of the prettiest cars I've ever seen, and it was something that brought me to Porsche when I first actually saw a car when I was little. And then they've also got an original 718 racer in there too. Both of these cars seem to be in the GT silver colour. That seems to be the Porsche main brand colours. And they're both quite well kept, beautiful examples. And I've been told they do bring cars in and out all the time, but at the moment these are the models that seem to be on display in there at the minute. And then you've got the restaurant upstairs. They also had a Boxer 25 in there, along with a 992 and a Taycan. I had a little bit of a look around that Boxer 25. It seems to be a really nice car, so for anybody getting their hands on one of them, I'm a little bit jealous. So what you do is you turn up for either a morning or an afternoon session. If you go for the morning, you get breakfast and then you get a break. And then if you go for the afternoon session, you turn up and you have your lunch, and then you go out and come back in for afternoon tea about halfway through. Now, in the restaurant, they've got a set menu, and this is the menu on the screen now. Food itself is really nice. I would recommend trying to go for the lunch over the breakfast. I did see the breakfast menu and it was just fairly simple. I think the lunch was actually probably better than the breakfast menu. So after an hour and you finish your lunch, they will send the instructors up to the table. They'll come and greet you, introduce themselves, and then they take you downstairs and they do a little video presentation of what to expect, a little bit along lines of the pictures of the tracks I've shown you, telling you a little bit about the cars and things that you experience with the one-to-one tuition, and then they'll go and send you out to greet your instructor, and they take you out of the car and then you start. To start out with, I went out in the GTS Cayman and my friend went out in the Turbo S, and we did about an hour and a bit, hour and a half before we came back in and did afternoon tea and then swapped over. I went around both handling tracks in that GTS along with a little bit of work on the kick plate. I really wanted to go and do that experience in that car because I wanted to see what the manual gearbox was like, because I have never driven a manual in any of these cars, and I've experienced PDK in both cars that I've owned, which was the 718 2-litre and the 992 C2. As much as I enjoyed being in that manual, I don't think I could live with it on a daily basis, but that's just a personal opinion. But I think if I end up going down the 718 route, I'm going to stick to the PDK. And also, it was the 4-litre over the 2-litre turbo, and yes, it was as powerful as the 992 C2 that I had, and it was very enjoyable driving that car around the track. On the kick plate, I managed to eventually get the car to go in a straight line. I found that being in there with the clutch that I'm not used to in one of those cars was a different experience, and for about the third and fourth time I was getting close to getting it straight, but it was the fifth and sixth go that I really got the hang of it on that car. Yeah, it was an enjoyable experience, that kick plate, and it was a lot of fun, although I did actually bend my finger back when I was trying to turn the wheel too quick. The one thing I did get to do with the Turbo S that I couldn't do in the manual 718 was launch control. Now, my C2 didn't have launch control on it because I had no sports chrono, so I never got to try it out on my car. Not that I would have been desperate to, because I wasn't wanting to destroy my tyres and things. What they're trying to get you to do is get you to go as fast as you can from the launch control and get some experience on that, while also doing basically an emergency stop at the end of that straight to show you how quickly the car can stop. Now, I did 4 launch controls back to back in that Turbo S, and quite frankly after the 4th one I didn't want to do anymore. Those cars bring you to a stop in half the time it takes you to get up to speed on the 0 to 60, so they say, and I can tell you that yeah, it's true. And after 4 or 5 goes of that, I was driving past people that were doing other things on that track that were having to stop at the side of the road to be sick out the door. So the question is, really, is it worth going down to do these experiences to see what the car's like when you're already ordering one? Well, yes, it is. If you haven't actually ever driven one before and you haven't actually decided what spec that you want, if you've got the opportunity to go and do this experience before you have to put your final build design in, it gives you the chance to go down there, experience the car, think if you want any bits on that maybe you're not too sure about option-wise, And even just go and make sure that you actually want the car that you think you're going to buy, because you get the opportunity to drive it as fast as you can around those tracks. They also give you the opportunity, if you wanted, and I was allowed to, but I didn't go and do it, to go out on the public roads outside the track in the car and just go and experience what the car's like in the real world. It is definitely worth it. Go and do it and enjoy driving those cars. I'll see you in the next one.